So one of the questions that you might have about intercultural literacy is, why does Cornell put so much emphasis on this? There are a few different reasons. So first is that Cornell cares about the greater good, and intercultural literacy is good for the world. It helps to have more equitable and less adversarial interactions, interpersonal interactions, relationships, and a more equitable and less adversarial world ultimately. It's also more consistent, potentially, with other values that we hold. So Cornell's core values are very consistent with increased competency and literacy in intercultural skills and knowledge. It also is consistent with the ideals of a pluralistic, egalitarian, and democratic society, like the U.S. It's consistent with the ideal that all people have a place at the table. Depending on your personal religious or ethical principles and values, very often this is also helps to live out some of those values. But it's not just about the greater good. There are also reasons to cultivate intercultural literacy for personal gain. So you can, with cultivating intercultural literacy, you may have an expanded worldview and greater mental flexibility. You might have wider opportunities, opportunities to work in places and with people that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to, and also just to enjoy the world in a different way, to see the world in a different way. So if you only like one kind of music, then there will be a lot of times when you're listening to people's music that you're just unhappy. And so this will give you more opportunities to find happiness in different ways. A greater appreciation of your own cultural richness and heritage. This is really one of the pieces that some people overlook, is that part of intercultural literacy is recognizing what's rich and valuable about our own cultural heritage. For some people, that might, if you're in the dominant culture in particular, this might be something that you take for granted and have not examined particularly closely because it's just sort of assumed in a lot of American life. If you're from, and so being able to take a different view of that will give you a more personal relationship with it and perspective on it. But particularly if you come from a culture that is more marginalized, then greater intercultural literacy can let you sort of cast off the effects of that marginalization and appreciate all of the value in the cultural practices and heritage that maybe doesn't get focused on in mainstream education. And finally, there are a lot of professional benefits to intercultural literacy. A lot of people, they go to college to get a job. Well, part of getting a job more and more is intercultural literacy. These skills help you in working with and communicating with the 3 C's. These are the 3 big important categories of people that you will need to be able to understand and communicate with: clients, customers, and coworkers. The world is a more diverse place every minute, and being able to understand and be understood by all of these people it's going to be an essential part of virtually any job. And the jobs are recognizing this. So more and more fields are studying intercultural literacy, making it one of the core components of professional education and also of the job qualifications that they're asking for. So you will find it called different terms in different fields, but they're all looking for it and all working on it. Because, if you're an engineer and you have a misunderstanding with your coworkers, so famously there was the rocket ship that crashed because one set of engineers and physicists were using metric measurements, and another set in a different cultural context were using American measurements, inches and feet, and so the rocket ship crashed. Buildings have collapsed for reasons like that. In medicine, people have died because the understanding of what was meant by certain treatments and medications were misunderstood. Products have failed because they were targeted in a way that wasn't culturally appropriate. All these different professions rely on intercultural literacy.